Good morning, everybody. John here at Epic Maker Studio and FMP Wargamers. So today, at least on this video, we're going to do something slightly different than what I normally do with this setup. We're not going to be talking about gaming news necessarily. I'm not going to be going over leaks and bleeps and radar sweeps and big reveals or hot takes on things or even criticism of game companies or maybe occasionally the community. Today, we're going to answer a couple questions for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and not necessarily for the people that are already playing the game or just got into it, but for those of you out there that seem to be making some transitioning over to Marvel Crisis Protocol for various reasons. One of the biggest things is I get asked is, how do you assemble your army using other terminology from these other large scale games? How many points are the characters? Do I have to run the X-Men or the Avengers? Am I shoehorned into all this? How many army books do I need? How much is the rule book? That sort of thing. Whoa, okay. Well, let me kind of settle you down there. First thing, you're not going to have to spend $50 on an army book, or $60 on a rule book, or $40 to $50 on a campaign book that includes rules for your army that was not included in your army book or codex, whatnot. You don't have to worry about that. That $150 or so that you're going to spend for those three books, or even just $100 for your army book and the rule book, you don't have to worry about. Everything you need for Marvel Crisis Protocol literally comes in the core box. You're going to get your 10 characters. You're going to get the character cards, which would be your army book, but they come with the characters. And I said the rule book, all the character cards, all the measuring tools, the dice, the tokens, all the team tactics cards, even terrain to play the game. Everything you need comes in the box for $100, not including taxes, which is very awesome. For $100, you've got the entire game. You don't need to do anything else. You don't have to worry about that $150 that you're going to spend on books before you get to the hundreds upon hundreds of dollars that you're going to need for your army. $100, you're ready to go right out the door. You have to do some assembly, but you're ready to go right out the door. Now, if you want to grow your roster of characters, every character that comes out, it's either an individual character or it's a 2-pack. And each character box, besides the miniatures, you're going to get your character cards or your army books, some extra team tactics cards, and occasionally some crisis cards, which are your missions, and some extra tokens. Everything you need is going to be coming in that box. You don't have to go buy a whole bunch of extra books and peripherals. Everything you need comes right there. So once again, how do we assemble our team based on that information? Okay, let's go ahead and just dive into this, because this is the most important thing that most people are really concerned about. Now, the team that you're going to assemble comes in various tiers of size, I guess the best way to describe it. The first thing you need to do is assemble a roster of 10 characters. And like I said, that core box comes automatically with 10 characters. So you don't need anything else. It's right there. Now, if you want to add more, fantastic, especially if you are a collector, a hobbyist, and you want them all, or you big Pokemon player and you just got to catch them all, go for it. It just gives you more options. So let's take a look at what a roster is going to look like. I've assembled a roster, not necessarily the best roster, but I think it would be fun to try out. Now, remember, I said you needed 10 characters. So let's take a look at the 10 characters I chose. I have the Ancient One, Magneto, Mystique, Cyclops, Drax the Destroyer, Wolverine, She-Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Taskmaster alongside Okoye. This is my team roster of 10 characters. This is the first thing you need to do when you're going to be sitting down to play a game, is build 10 characters. Now, there are some other nuances that go into this that you might want to consider, but are not required. We're going to get into that. So once we got our 10, before we assemble our squad, we get to how many points each of the characters are, and how big the game is, what the game is, everything, we need to follow 2 more steps before we dive in. These are very quick and easy steps, so let's get into them right away. The first thing is the team tactic cards. These are extra little bonus cards you're going to be able to play during your turn or your player's turn throughout the course of the game. Now, both you and your opponent are going to choose 8 team tactics cards. And once you've established the mission, set everything up, you've got your roster for your squad set up, you're going to choose 5 of these cards to use during the game. That's the order of operation. Now, one thing that you will want to pay attention to is if any of these team tactic cards has a character or team affiliation requirement. So on the left, you see Cosmic Invigoration, and the next line down it says Cabal. That is the team affiliation, Cabal. So you would have to, at the very least, have a Cabal team affiliation, which we're going to talk about how you get to that team affiliation status. Additionally, as you can see 2 lines down, this also requires that you also have the Red Skull active in your team to be able to use this. That's a very, very specific card. Now, on the other side, we have the unaffiliated cards. Now, this one is called Face Me on your right. And as you can see, the first line down, it says it's unaffiliated, meaning any team can use this card. And as you read through the text, you'll see that there is no specific character requirements. It doesn't need the Red Skull, doesn't need the Hulk, doesn't need any of those characters. Anybody can use this as long as you meet the requirements. So, the third step, and this is really easy, these are really easy steps, is determine your crisis cards. Now, these crisis cards, there's the Extraction that's on the left in red, and Secure, which is blue on the right. Now, you and your opponent are going to build a deck of 2 cards for each of those, and you're both going to have basically 2 decks of cards. So I will have 2 randomly, or not even randomly, you get to choose which cards you want to put in that deck. So I'm going to have 2 Extraction and 2 Secure, and you're going to do the same. Now, once we determine priority, which determines who's going to be going first through all this setup and first gameplay, then we're going to allow that player with priority, which, let's say for the purposes of this video, it is me. I have priority. I'm going to choose either Extraction or Secure, and in this case, I'm going to choose Secure, and I'm going to select one card at random. I'm not going to be able to look at it, obviously. I'm just going to select one, and it turns out I chose Riot Sparks over Extremis 3.0. Now, you, as the other player, are going to follow that same process. However, since I already drew from the Secure crisis cards, you have to randomly select a card from the Extraction. And now we have our 2 missions, and it tells you how to do the setup, scoring, everything on that card. Really easy. We don't have to flip through 30 or 40 pages or on our PDF or anything like that. We literally have those cards right in front of us. Easy peasy. Now, the player that has priority, in this case me, I'm going to look at these 2 cards and I'm going to choose which one we're going to operate on for building our squads. And this is determining the threat level, which at the top center of each of these cards, you see a numerical value. That is how big your squad is going to be. That's the threat level of the squad. And then we're going to go ahead and build our squads based off of that threat. And I know, John, I still don't understand what that means on threat level. Is that points? How many points is that? A number of characters? What is going on? Okay, don't worry. Ease up. I got you. Let's take a look at Magneto. He is in my roster, as you saw earlier on. But how many points are the characters? That's what you really want to know. So looking at the blown up image on the right here, we've got Magneto. And as the arrow is pointing to that number 6 there, this is his threat level. Or, for those of you that prefer that terminology, this is how many points Magneto is worth. So depending on the threat level or point level of the game that we're going to play, he is going to cost at least 6 from that total. So what about teams? We need to talk about teams. I know some people are going to be worried about teams. So there are teams in the game, the Avengers, Cabal, Brotherhood of Mutants, X-Men, so on and so forth. If you want to run a team or multiple teams, which is possible in your roster, which we're going to cover here momentarily, that you have to have characters in your team that have a leadership ability. Now you can see I got an arrow pointing towards Magneto's From the Ruins. You see that little star symbol next to From the Ruins? This is his leadership ability for the Brotherhood of Mutants affiliation. And the next thing that you need to consider is that 51% of the squad that you're going to choose, not your team roster, but from that roster into your squad, you need at least 51% of the squad consisting of members from that affiliation. If you'll think back, the only people that I have in my Brotherhood of Mutants team affiliation here is Magneto and Mystique, which would mean that I'm limiting myself on who can be in my team. Remember, 51% of the ability, so at most I could have 3 members in my squad, because 51% needs to be at least of that affiliation. If I want to benefit, that's only if I want to benefit from the team affiliation and any team cards. Okay, so if I wanted to be able to have a 4 or 5 person squad, I would need to at least include one other member from this roster. However, there is a slight workaround. Let's talk about that workaround, because this is very important. There are rogue agents like Winter Soldier's Bucky Barnes or Anthony Masters' Taskmaster. Now, these are what are called rogue agents, and you'll see down below near the bottom of their cards the infinity symbol, and it has the text next to it of rogue agent. One character with rogue agent counts as an affiliated character during squad building. So when I'm assembling my squad, and I only have Magneto and Mystique, which would limit me to a maximum of 3-person squad normally, if I want to benefit from Magneto or Mystique's leadership ability, which I have to choose one before we start, by the way. Now with one of these two, which I put Taskmaster in my roster, going back to the beginning, I can now include him as a technical member of the Brotherhood of Mutants. So now I can expand my roster from 3 character maximum to 4 or 5, because Taskmaster counts as a member of the Brotherhood of Mutants. All right, so now we got a little bit more kind of clarified for the teams, but what are the team affiliations? How do I choose them? What are the different types? This is my way of viewing the game, and some of this is my terminology. You might have similar terminology or maybe even easier way to deciding, but this is what I want to be able to focus on. So there's no affiliation, which is probably the best way for you to fill in whatever characters you want, where you don't have to worry about the squad consistency or the affiliation or team leaders. No fuss, no muss, and all the fun. But you are missing out on those team affiliation bonuses and those team tactics cards. But you know what? If you don't care, you just want to have fun, go with whatever you want. The single team is ideal if you've got your favorite, hands down, greatest team ever, the Avengers, if that is it. And maybe you want to throw in a couple extra characters, but you want to have almost an entire roster of the Avengers. You're going to get your team affiliation bonus as long as you're choosing that leader to be in your squad. And you're going to have that access to the team tactic cards. It's still narrower than some later team affiliations I'm going to be talking about, but you're already a step ahead of the non-affiliated team. Now, the double team affiliation, this is a little different. You're going to be picking your 2 favorite teams and associated characters, and we're going to show some examples in just a moment. This offers some flexibility in multiple games like tournaments and leagues. So depending on who your opponent is, what crisis cards are drawn, you can go back and forth between the 2 different teams. Now, this also opens up multiple team tactic cards, and as I mentioned before, that there are some characters that you're able to buy outside of the main box that come with their own crisis cards or their own mission cards. This was going to give you that extra access, which is going to be really beneficial. Now, the last one requires a little bit more thought going into it than just picking at random, but which you can do, of course. But this is ideal for your 3 or more favorite teams. If you can squeeze out more than 3, which is possible, great, including those characters that go with it. This really offers, I think greater flexibility in tournaments and leagues, but like I said, it requires a little bit more forethought. Now, just like double team affiliation, you're going to get multiple, even now, more cards from the team tactics and crisis cards. But like I said, it's going to require a little bit more coordinating before gameplay if you want to make sure that you're being efficient and effective. Let's take a couple examples. So, no affiliation. I just threw this one together. Iron Fist, Thanos, Loki, Black Bolt, Toad, Baron Zemo, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Black Cat, and Angela. Of all those 10 characters, Thanos and Black Bolt are the only ones with team leadership abilities. However, not a single member of the rest of that roster are a member of their teams. So you don't have to worry about any team affiliation. Just go ahead and have fun picking random characters from those 10. The single team affiliation, I chose Defenders as one of them, and I chose Doctor Strange as the leader because right now he is the only leader. We have Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Wong, Hawkeye, and Ghost Rider, which gives me 6 characters to pull from to ensure I have my 51% or greater team affiliation roster. Then I tossed in a couple extras to really kind of help round out with some powerhouses, some controlling characters, and some range damage dealers. Angela, Black Bolt, Cassandra Nova, and She-Hulk. There's my 10, with the main focus being on the Defenders. Now I have the double team affiliation with the Defenders. Of course, Doctor Strange is the leader, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Ghost Rider. So now I have 4 options, pretty much guaranteeing that I have my 51%. Then I have, for A-Force, She-Hulk as the leader, Angela, Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel. Another 4 characters, pretty much ensuring that I'm going to have at least my 51% if I decide to go with A-Force. I tossed in the extras of Winter Soldier as a rogue agent to help boost that 51% requirement for a team affiliation, and Cable because Cable's just really cool and he's got some great abilities. Now the last one before we move on is the triple plus team affiliation. This is going to require just a little bit of a walkthrough, but bear with me. So we're going to start with the Avengers with Captain America as our leader. We also have Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Wasp, and Black Widow. That is giving us a wonderful 5 characters to choose from for the Avengers affiliation. But there's more. We're going to also choose a second team affiliation of Asgard with Thor as the leader, and additionally, Thor is a member of the Avengers. So now I have 6 people to choose from for my Avengers roster. Now, additionally, with Asgard, I chose Angela, Valkyrie, and Enchantress. Now that's 4 members of the Asgard team. So pretty much I'm guaranteed to have that. Finally, I've got A-Force, which is right now just showing She-Hulk as the leader, and that's it. No, that's not it. So with A-Force, I've got Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Wasp, and Black Widow from the Avengers. And then I also get to include from Asgard team, Angela and Valkyrie. So now I'm adding these other characters. That's 6 more characters to flesh out the A-Force to a 7-character roster to choose from. So you can see how you get these different cross compatibilities with the different teams, with the members being from these different teams. This gives me a lot of flexibility in deciding my team. So I think it's time. I think we're ready for building our roster. I think so, almost, maybe. So I just want to kind of show off a first look at the different types of characters. I've already got Doctor Strange and Magneto in my team roster. Additionally, from the Defenders, I have Wolverine in my roster, and for Brotherhood of Mutants, I have Mystique. And if I toss in Taskmaster, who's a rogue agent, I can now fulfill either of these rosters just by those characters alone. All right, let's take a look at how this works. So the first thing I need to do, since I have priority, I need to choose which threat level we're going to do. Now I'm going to go with Riot's Spark over Extremis 3.0. Since I have the priority, this is the card that I randomly drew, and I've decided I want to do the 17 threat. And this, I think this puts me at a greater advantage over my opponent, which is you. And let's assemble my team based off of that while you're assembling your team. So from my roster, I'm going to assemble a squad equal to or under threat 17. I have chosen Magneto as my team leader. And then these other cards are the ones that I've chosen as well. So to make sure I get my team affiliation ability, I've got Mystique and Taskmaster, who Taskmaster is a rogue agent and he counts as Brotherhood of Mutants. There, we've got my 51% of 5 characters. Now looking at Magneto, he's worth 6 threat or 6 points. Then Mystique, Taskmaster, and Drax the Destroyer are all threat 3 or 3 points, bringing their total to 9. So their total plus Magneto puts me at a threat 15 or 15 points. And then I tossed in Okoye because I think Okoye is a great character. She's very inexpensive at a threat 2 or 2 points. She's got some great bodyguard and support abilities. So I think she is great to slide in when you only have a few points left over and you're going for some heavy firepower like Magneto. They're great to have. These 2-pointers are great to have in your roster. So there is my squad. I've already chosen my team tactics cards. We know what the missions are. The table is set up. I've just assembled my squad of super cool dudes and dudettes, and we're going to now battle it out. And this is how you determine what your team is going to be. This is how many points your characters are. This is how you get your team affiliation abilities, if you even want them. So pretty easy at the end of the day if once you get used to this. And I'm hoping this video was instructional enough for you guys. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of this. Do you want to see some more videos? I mean, I've got more videos planned, and I really would like to do them, especially in regards to talking about team tactics cards, the various different crisis cards, and of course more about the characters, and then eventually some gameplay videos so you guys can see some basic gameplay, and then even get some more advanced gameplay from some of the much more adept members of the community. So let me know down in the description below or the comments below. If you get a chance, go ahead and hit a thumbs up, or if you got to do it, give me a thumbs down. But at least a comment explaining why I got a thumbs down would be very helpful in future videos. And also hit that subscribe button. It really does help more than you guys imagine. I'm not going to get all super crazy about it, but it does help, and I really appreciate it. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful Friday. If you get a chance, go see Suicide Squad on HBO Max or in the theaters. I've already watched it on HBO Max. I'm going to go see it in the movie theaters tomorrow because it was just so good. I want to see it on the big screen with super surround sound. You guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.